already thinking, something got to be up, right? So I get the call that nobody wants to get. My mom picks up, or I pick up. My mom's on the other line, bawling, y'all, and she's crying her eyes out. Right? I immediately know something's wrong. Like heart drop, stomach aching, freeze frame. Welcome to the second episode of Breaking Through Podcast, brought to you by yours truly, Kaylin Devine. If you're new here, like, comment, subscribe. If you're not new here, like, comment, subscribe as well. You feel me? Welcome back to the Breaking Through Podcast. It's been a week. Y'all, I'm happy that I'm doing this. You know what I'm saying? It's the second week back, staying consistent. I'm with it. We are all with consistency this year, 24/7. Ain't no doubt about it, right? Hopefully, y'all had a good week. Let me know how y'all week was. My week was pretty productive. Got a lot of things done. It was smooth. Didn't really have many ups and downs. Was just focused this week. You feel me? So that was good for me to go ahead and lock in, stay locked in, and then now we here back to the therapy session. You know, like I said, Breaking Through Podcast. This is where we reflect on our truth, water our own seeds to inspire growth, right? So make sure that you're helping grow the community, spread the word, you feel me? Last week, we just talked about mental health in general. And this week, we are going into therapy. And y'all, I had a therapy session this week, and it was interesting. We're diving into inner child work, and it's interesting. It's interesting to see how much inner child trauma can affect how we move as adults, right? And it's just interesting to me. It's very intriguing. It was my first session diving into it, and I think it's going to be something that's challenging. I think that's going to push me to be a little bit better, right? A better individual. It's going to push me to understand myself a little bit more, right? So I'm excited to learn about it. Definitely got some digging to do. Gotta go deep with the network. Not even gonna lie to y'all, but last week I mentioned that I was gonna share the story on how I got into therapy, share some tips, stuff like that if we get time to it, and stuff. So we're gonna start with a little bit of story time, man. I've been in therapy. My first session was, I don't know, I sway between 2015, 2017. I'm not sure, somewhere around there, but the story that brings me to therapy, that got me into therapy, right? One day, I'm working, and I get a call. And I get the call that nobody ever wants to get. Nobody ever wants to get. My mom's calling, pick up the phone. Now, first of all, we got this rule within our family where it's like, we don't call when we working, right? We just don't call. So, especially I don't live at home. So if my mom calls or somebody from my family calls, I know something's up off rip, especially if they know that I'm working, you know, because we don't call when we're at work anyway. So I'm already thinking, something got to be up, right? So I get the call that nobody wants to get. My mom picks up, or I pick up. My mom's on the other line, bawling, y'all, and she's crying her eyes out, right? I immediately know something's wrong. Like heart drop, stomach aching, freeze frame. Anything and everything that I had going on in that moment right then and there stopped, right? Freeze frame. And it was just traumatic. My mom's on the other end, bawling. And I'm like, yo, what's going on? And she says, I just got to mom's house, or my grandma's house, right? I just got to mom's house, and the whole street's blocked off. I've been trying to reach them, can't reach them. I just got home. Whole street's blocked off. Doesn't know what happened. Ambulances everywhere. People crowding the street. It's a mess. And she knows nothing, right? In that moment, I just remember thinking, whoa, this can't be happening. Like, this can't be happening right now. Mom doesn't know any information, hangs up. I immediately go to my boss. I'm like, yo, I gotta bounce. I'm balling in shambles. I go out, I go over to my boy's crib, and he just let me pour out all the emotions, everything I got going on, because in this moment, I still don't even know what even happened, right? Like, I don't even know what's going on. My mind's running a million miles per minute. Don't even know what's going on, but I know that it's deep. Call my mom, no answer, waiting to hear back. Mom finally calls me back, tells me that my grandpa's been hit, been shot, right? Gonna go rush to the hospital, figure out what's going on, but he's been shot, hasn't been in the house. They won't let her into the house because it's a crime scene now, right? They're looking at everything's blocked off, trying not to touch anything. Obviously, you know, there's evidence can't be let in for those type of reasons. So my mom is trying to go to the hospital, see what's going on. And I just remember, y'all, like, in that moment, feeling like I lost it all. Don't even know what's going on. Can't even fathom what's going on, right? Just know that my grandpa's been shot. They're in the hospital, and we're praying for the best, right? Praying that he makes it out. So hours go by. I'm still balling in my boy's crib. He's helping me, just talking things through with me. And my mom calls me back and is like, yo, he's been shot, but, you know, they think he's going to be okay. They're trying to make sure that he's going to be cool. He got hit in his neck, so he got hit right here. Don't know any situation about, like, what actually happened, right? I just know that he's been shot. So I'm like, okay, he's cool, right? So he's cool, and they're working on taking care of him. So now at this point, I'm in a state of, okay, I can breathe a little bit, right? I can breathe a little bit. I know I need to take my time, collect my thoughts, try to figure out what's going on, but I can finally breathe and, like, just try to calm down and take care of what's going on internally in my mind and stuff like that. So the following day comes, and I'm at my shorty's crib at the time, and I'm at her crib. Earlier in the day, I get the call that my grandpa's okay, he's gonna be okay, right? And so, actually, this was a couple of days. I think this might have been 3 to 5 days later, right? 3 to 5 days later, he's okay, he's gonna be okay. The bullet, they're not gonna take out because they don't want any type of internal bleeding or anything like that. So even to this day, he still has it, right? And he made it through, right? Thank God. Made it through. 3 to 5 days later, I'm at my shorty's crib, chilling, still going through it, right? Like, still, like, trying to process everything because it's a lot to handle. I'm a person typically where I can process things in real time, but obviously that's one of those situations where I gotta figure myself out. I gotta figure out what the fuck is going on. I gotta figure out, you know, how to even handle that because I've never been through anything so traumatic like that. So I'm in my shorty's crib, and my mom calls me again, and I'm like, damn. Hopefully, you know, it's good news that my grandpa's out and stuff like that. Calls me, same thing. A call, nobody wants to hear. She's bawling, tells me that there's been a drive-by done on the crib. Now, the drive-by had probably just happened. Drive-by done on the crib caused $50,000 worth of damages. They sprayed up everything, right? Sprayed it up. In hopes of retaliating, right? Now my grandparents were okay. They had just went to bed probably 5 to 10 minutes before it happened. That happened. They called my mom. My mom called me, and now we're all just in the midst of chaos again, right? Still in the heat of chaos. It never went away. I get off the phone, and now I'm like at a loss of words. I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything. I'm not feeling anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm I'm in straight like panic mode, scare mode, crying mode, fearful, everything, right? And I end up going to my shorty's room, and I just sit down. I throw on this song, and I listen to the song on repeat, literally playing the situation of everything that's happened in the week, just bawling my eyes out, right? For hours on it. When I say hours, I'm talking legit. Like, it must have been like 8 o'clock. Like, it's now like 3 a.m. in the morning, and I'm just not stopping, right? And I start to like, my sadness moves from sadness to worry to hate to anger to like self-blame, and it moved all the way to self-blame because I'm not there, right? In the heat of the moment, I'm feeling like, damn, if I would have been there, maybe I could have done something. Maybe I could have done something differently. Maybe things would have navigated a little bit different. Overall, really understanding that there's nothing that I could really do in those type of situations, right? Like, God had their back, and God still got their back. And, you know, I'm grateful and thankful for that. But in that moment, I definitely felt like I was to blame, even though the situation wasn't at hand my fault, right? And there's not much that I could do or what would I have done, right? So I'm sitting there, and I get to a point where, like, I literally feel like I'm about to lose my mind. Like, losing grip. There is no grip. I've lost grip. I'm feeling like I'm finna lose my mind, right? And I'm like, damn, I know if I'm about to lose my mind, that I probably need to talk to somebody, because I feel like I have a lot of people that I'm surrounded by that are mentally strong, and I didn't feel confident, or I didn't want to. I already felt like I already felt like I was blaming myself, so I didn't want to sit here and call somebody else and burden them even more than what I already had, especially early in the week, because I already went over to my boy's house and shit. Now, I'm confident in my people 100%, but it's a different feeling when you're trying to make sure that you're not becoming a issue to your people, or like you're trying to make sure that you're not a bothersome to them, right? All my people I'm confident in, and in myself I'm confident in, working through stuff mentally. But at that moment, that confidence was shook, gone, wasn't even there. And so I called my EAP line at the time. If you don't know what EAP line is, it's an employee assistant program that you can call if you're going through anything, right? If you work for a company, almost every company has one. You can call them, talk to them about anything, whether it's like financial struggles or going to school and needing help with tuition, if it's HR stuff, whatever it might be, like in that time, right? I called them, and lady picks up, and I'm immediately like, yo, I need to talk to somebody tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, we don't know what's gonna happen, right? She's like, don't worry, can you explain to me what happened? I told her the story. She's like, absolutely, I'll make sure I get you booked in with somebody, right? So, it's the following day, 8 a.m., I'm driving over there. I don't know who I'm seeing, y'all. All I know is that she got me hooked up with a therapist to talk about what's going on. Don't know who he is. Don't know what he look like. Don't know his background. I just know it's a dude named blah, blah, blah. And I'm finna walk up in here, and it's paid for by them. I get 3 sessions paid for by them. So I go to the therapy session, walk in. I'm kind of feeling like, I can already tell I'm not gonna like this place. Like, what are they finna do? What are they finna help me out with, right? They're not gonna be able to stop anything from happening. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna be able to do anything, right? But what are they gonna do? Let's give them a chance. Walk in, I sit down. My bad, y'all. If there's a cut, my bad. I knocked the lights off. You feel me? Had to change the light color back and shit. But I sit down. He's like, hey, so tell me about yourself, right? I'm immediately not even in the mood to talk about myself. I'm like, bro, that's not what I'm here for. Like, I'm not trying to sit here and talk about myself. I'm not trying to sit here and, have you feel bad for me or nothing like that. I just need you to just get me out of my head about the situation, because the situation at hand is bad and I don't know what to do and I feel like I'm losing my mind. He kept asking a bunch of questions, random questions. Them questions weren't helping. So at the end of the day, I'm over here like, bro, a waste of my time. Like, not only a waste of my time, a waste of your time. And I think like 40 minutes go by and it gets to a point where I'm not even talking no more, right? I'm not even saying nothing. 40 minutes go by and he ends up pulling out this sheet of paper. If I could find the piece of paper, I'll put it up here somewhere. But he ends up pulling out this piece of paper, right? And on this piece of paper is a bunch of circles. It's like a big circle out here going down to a small circle right there. And in the small circle says loss all the way out, and it explaining a whole bunch of stuff. And he's like, hey man, look. He says, I understand that what you're going through cannot be explained right now. But what I do want to let you know is that you're going through a temporary phase of loss right now. And although you did not lose your grandfather or anything, you lost the overwhelming amount of security that you had of them being at home and you being up here. That security that you once had, there's a loss of that security. And with that being said, and there being a loss of that security, there's a loss of that hope, there's a loss of certainty, there's a loss of a lot of things that you're going through right now. And that loss has to be repaired. And the only way that it's going to be repaired is by you not avoiding the conversation, avoiding how you feel, avoiding the emotions, and just simply processing what's going through right now. And I understand and respect that you don't want to talk, so I'm not going to force it out of you, but I want you to take this here and just look at it when you get a chance, right? I took the sheet, I left. I got in my car. When I got in my car, I just remember sitting there holding it like, damn, there was a lot of stuff that I did not necessarily agree with. My bad, let me backtrack. There's a lot of stuff that I did not necessarily want to talk about. There's a lot of stuff that he was asking that I didn't think he should have been asking, right? But he was just doing his job, right? But though him taking his time to make sure that he gave me that and reassured me what I was going through was normal, but actually putting something to it, right? Like putting a name to it made the biggest difference in the world by far. I sat there holding that sheet, bawling, thinking like, damn, it really is a sense of loss of security that I'm having right now, and it's not going to get better if I don't talk about it, right? And so I went home, and then that's when I wrote 5 p.m. And when I wrote 5 p.m., just letting out all my emotions, right? The song is called 5 p.m. because that's the time that my therapy session was at. And the like picture of it is like the location I was at and everything as far as the artwork and shit. And so 5 p.m. means a lot. And I remember when I wrote that, I hadn't wrote music in a long ass time. And when I finally decided to write that and put it out, it was like, damn. I was really holding that all in without even realizing it. Holding that all in. I was holding myself back from the repair of the situation and just grieving. And it's okay to grieve. It's normal to grieve. And I just had to go through that process, and me writing it out and getting my feelings out in that moment in time really served me justice big time and really helped me get to that next stage. So that was my first introduction. That was my first introduction into therapy as a whole. Probably had a lot of experiences that a lot of you guys have if you've tried therapy before, where you're feeling like you don't want to talk about things and somebody else is asking you a bunch of questions that you're not even trying to answer right now. Somebody's trying to force things out of you and everything like that. And I hope, that doesn't, if it is a bad experience for you, that it doesn't shape the ultimate experience of what therapy has done, or what therapy can do for you, right? Because every therapist is different, right? Long story short on like what happened, like my grandparents were armed robbed at the crib. Dude came into the crib, tried to take everything. Grandpa ended up going to get his firearm, and the dude shot at my grandfather, pointed the gun at my grandmother, and my grandpa shot at him, right? So it was self-defense at its finest. And then I say at its finest, self-defense, and ultimately that's what happened that drove me into therapy the first time. Now, I did not go and continue to see this therapist at all. I never went back. But after that session, I immediately knew that therapy was going to be something that I wanted to do for a long-term effect of working through trauma that I have from my childhood, trauma that I've, encountered, trauma that I have poured into, some of my toxic ways, toxicity, and just understanding myself more, right? And so the next thing that brought me to therapy that I mentioned in the last episode was one of my relationships, right? I had a relationship where I felt like there was two things that I needed to get out of that relationship. Not two things. One thing that I needed to get out of the relationship, and another thing that drove me to going to get therapy just to see what I could work through, right? The first one was making sure that I could love somebody through all seasons, right? And what I mean by that is like proving to myself that I had the patience to be with somebody, the patience to love somebody, the patience to grow with somebody, the patience to work through the ups and downs, the patience to understand that everybody's gonna change, but can I really love them through all the seasons and push myself through all the seasons with them and have patience, right? And that's what I try to do in that relationship. I try to stay in that relationship and push through all of the feelings that I had to prove to myself that I could love somebody through all ups and downs, right? The relationship eventually got to a point where neither one of us wanted to be in the relationship, right? And speaking from my behalf, I was ready to leave the relationship 100%. And there were moments where we would get into like arguments and shit like that, and I would literally be so far deep in my head where it's like, yo, bro, I could go weeks without talking to you. I wouldn't actually do that because I had grown from that, but I could be in my head so deep in my head where it's like I'm just mad, you know what I'm saying? Any plans that we might have going on, if I'm in my head and I'm mad about it, I don't even want to do them plans, and I can't get out of the mode. I don't think the problem was the fact that I'm upset, don't want to do the plans. I think that that's life and shit like that, but what's not okay is not being able to move past it, right? And I recognize that in myself. You got to be able to, have situations that happen, talk about it, and move past it, right? And I don't think that we had two different communication styles. I'm big on communication. I didn't feel like I was getting what I needed because our communication styles were different. And I feel like based off me not getting what I needed, it made me even more mad. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, made me even more mad. Made me even more mad. But I identified that I have to figure out how to work through it, right? And so before I left the relationship, I told myself, look, I need to go to therapy. It wasn't couples therapy, it was just therapy by myself, right? To figure out if I'm like, what am I doing wrong? What can I be doing to help me in these situations? What can I be doing to be moving better? Like, I just can't break it. And at that moment of time, I knew myself very, very well. So, like, the fact that I could not figure it out bothered me even more, where it's like, yo, I gotta be tripping, right? So, I hooked up with a therapist, linked up with one, still my therapist to this day. And I remember just walking through things with her and ultimately, like, just understanding that compatibility is a thing. And although I'm trying to prove to myself that I can be with somebody through all seasons, that sometimes that can even be detrimental in itself, because some things you just need to move on from. Whether I'm here for a season, whether I'm here for this chapter, whether I'm here for whatever it is, me just trying to push through everything. Me trying to push through everything is not necessarily me, like, I'm not creating boundaries for myself. There's no boundary set at all, right? Like, I get that I'm doing it out of best interest of trying to be with somebody and loving them through all seasons, but what am I doing for myself? Does it actually work? Am I getting what I need, right? When I had my sessions with her towards the end of that relationship, where I was really understanding about myself, that's when I learned about attachment styles, right? I learned that, back in my day, based off how I grew up, I was an avoidant attachment style. And boy, when I tell you I put people through it, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everybody. If you knew me in that time or dated me in that time, I'm sorry. Avoidant, terrible. And then in this particular relationship, I actually shifted. Before that relationship, I shifted from avoidant to secure, and then I went from secure in that relationship to anxious in that relationship. I had never heard of attachment styles in my life. Like, I'm over here like, are you sure that's what's going on, right? It just seems too good to be true. But that's when I learned about attachment styles. And then I learned about Enneagram numbers, which is just a personality test, and telling you about your numbers and like how you perceive the world and stuff like that. And it was so eye-opening to me. And I think when I was going through those sessions, trying to really work through my relationship, ultimately I just understood that, people, you have needs, other people have needs, you have wants, other people has wants, and sometimes those needs and wants can't be met. And when they can't be met, it's okay to let go, because you're doing yourself and the other partner a disservice by staying in it, especially trying to push through anything, especially if it's toxic, to try to just make it last, when y'all both can be doing the repair that you guys both need to end up in healthier relationships in the long run, right? So that was the second time that I entered into therapy. And then when I stayed, I decided to stay with that therapist. She's my therapist to this day, because I was just learning so much about myself, literally. Learning everything and anything you can think of. Like I said, attachment styles, Enneagram numbers. I learned how to actually cope with the original problem of like me getting mad and being in my head, right? I didn't realize that when I was getting mad, it came from a deeper level of not feeling understood. So because the communication wasn't good, I felt like I wasn't being understood. When I don't feel like I'm being understood, I shut down and disconnect, right? And now I have better ways of communicating, right? Because I can communicate better and explaining my needs in those situations and times to get what I need back. And then the second thing is, if I do get in a moment where I'm mad in my head, if I get in that moment, now I know how to, all right, I can see it coming. So, if I feel it coming up, I could pump my brakes and be like, hold on, bro. Don't let this conversation get too far. Let's just chill for a second. Go take a breather. Come back to it, right? That's ideal. That's perfect for the boy. you know what, I'm feeling like I'm getting a little frustrated. I'm gonna go chill real quick. I'll be back. Communicate that I love you. I'll be back. You know what I'm saying? Nothing personal. I just need to really step away from this, right? If I can't do that and I get to the point where I am mad, then in those moments, like taking time to do some breath work, in those moments, real time. Boom. All right, I need to be breathing deep, because the breathing is gonna help me get oxygen to the part of my brain where it's gonna make me make rational decisions. It's not gonna make me act irrational, right? So like, I'll say, hold on, give me a couple seconds, or give me, a minute or two, and just deep breathe to just calm myself down, right? And that is all responses from the fight or flight, fight, flight, or stay, fight, flight, stay, fight, flight, shock, fight, flight, something. You know what I'm saying? It's from those moments, right? And that has helped me too, right? I worked through things with my dad, right? Like working up the courage to go have a conversation with my dad, who hasn't been in my life for the majority of my life, and really working on that. I worked on that for 9 months, y'all, with my therapist. 9 months. I don't even know if he knows this, if he's gonna see this. That conversation happened in September, and I was working on it from January to work up the muscle of like, all right, I'm finna like go say what's up to him. Nigga opened the door. I said, damn, if that's not my dad, boy, we got the same beard, bald head, god damn. Them snow jeans strong. But overall, y'all, like, I have literally been in therapy ever since, right? And now we're working on inner child work right now. And it's nice because you don't have to go to therapy because there's a problem. You don't have to go to therapy to work through things. You don't have to go to therapy for that. I would recommend that you go through, if it's up to me and I had to give a recommendation, right? My advice would be, if there's anything that's on your mind right now that you want to work on, if there's anything as far as like trauma that has built up, situations that have built up, anything like that, like go to therapy, talk to somebody that's unbiased, and get another opinion and just work through it like that. And then eventually when you work through that, just continue to learn about yourself, and then it's going to become you're going to maintain, right, your mental wellness, your mental being. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to be balanced. The goal is to stay balanced, is to fluctuate, not to be perfect, right? It's to stay in the middle, right? So when you go to therapy, it's to explore and discover for yourself, right? Explore and discover, learn about yourself and all this and that. If you need help, like, treat it like wine tasting. Treat therapy like wine tasting. Y'all go wine tasting all the time. I know y'all do. Y'all go wine tasting 3 to 4 times a week. You can go wine tasting with a therapist. You feel me? Go and see one. Call them up, see if they got a free consultation. If you call them up and see if they got a free consultation, they'll definitely partner you with somebody most of the time. And when they do, talk to them. See how you feel it. Fill it out. If you're not liking it, move on to the next. Do another one. Don't like it, move on to the next. So what you're going to do is you're going to realize the things that you do like. You're going to realize the things that you don't like, and then you can actually choose. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to know, and you're going to be spending your money on something, and you're not going to feel confident that that person can help you, right? So go wine tasting for therapists for sure. Secondly, if you are worried about the cost of it, you can email the company, reach out to the company, give them your insurance, right? When you give them your insurance, tell them what you're going through, and ask them first before you book how much it's going to be based off your insurance. You can always do that. You don't have to commit to it first. So that's exactly what I did. Hit them up. This is what I need to do. Cool, perfect. Here's my insurance. Can you tell me how much the sessions are going to be? Right? Sometimes they can work at a discount out. If you want to know the discount, the secret, hit me up personally. I promise you, I'll give you a tip that can probably get your therapy sessions a little bit lower. And then the third one that is big that I think people need to understand about therapy too is that it's okay to move from one therapist to another. The same way that we all interact with people and come into people's lives from season to seasons, chapter to chapter. When you're going to seek out a therapist, sometimes you might be with a therapist for a year and a half, and you feel like you've reached that peak with them, and now it's time to go see another. And that's okay, because all that means is that you watered your own seeds, you feel me, for that growth, and you sprouted and you grew from it, and now they're on to bigger and better things. And when you go see somebody else, it's another perspective from somebody else who doesn't know you, and they might be able to see things that the other person could not have, right? So that's my story. Damn, that was a long, my bad, y'all, for talking y'all ear off, but I love this. I'm just here to try to inspire people to grow. You feel me? And I wanted to talk about that because therapy is important. Therapy means a lot to me. It means a lot to some of my people as well. And I'm an advocate for it. If you need online therapy, you can go to BetterHelp. BetterHelp, I don't have a sponsorship with, but I will recommend them because I have seen their stuff and I've tested it out a little bit, right? Just to see how to navigate it a little bit, right? And it seems like it's pretty good. And I've talked to some people who are on BetterHelp, and they fuck with it, right? So that's all I got for y'all. I feel like I'm a little long-winded, but it is what it is. Mental Health Awareness Month. We're staying on top of our mental game. I'm just trying to help y'all. Please like, comment, subscribe. Send this to somebody that needs it. We try to grow the community. Once again, brought to you by Kaylin Snow. Damn, I said Kaylin Snow. Kaylin Devon. Brought to you by Kaylin Devon. I will see y'all next week. We'll see what we talk about. Hope y'all have a great week. Peace.